It's 1 o'clock.
Okay, overall, big debate night. I thought from just a purely informational entertainment point of view, I thought it was very informative for the American people.
Yes.
Because there's such a big divide between these two candidates.
Well, there's a big divide. And Sean, look, it's just another day for Donald Trump that he's talking about the issues and substance. He does that every single day out in the stump. You see him at the rallies. He gives policy speeches. This was brand spanking new for Hillary Clinton to actually come out in front of America and say, here's what I think about A, B, and C. She had crammed her head full of a lot of stuff, and she wanted to make sure we heard basically every single fact and figure. But I also thought she looked a little bit smug and a little glib at times, which isn't frankly presidential. Donald Trump should really be valued for what happened at the very end of the debate, which is he exercised restraint. And I'm not sure that...
As his campaign manager, did you talk about this ahead of time? A little bit?
I'm not sure that the rest of us could have exercised that kind of restraint. If somebody is attacking you...
I couldn't.
That's right.
I don't think I would have.
There you go. But look, restraint is a virtue, and it certainly is a presidential virtue. The idea that it would have been so easy if somebody's talking about mistreating women, it would have been so easy.
By the way, that's what they call a softball. That was sitting there on a tee to hit out of the park. He didn't want to do it.
He grabbed it, and he explained himself. He said, I was prepared, or I could have done some really rough stuff to you.
Were you surprised I was? She wants to raise taxes. She wants to redistribute the wealth.
Very proud of it. Yeah. And Sean, this is really the nut of these presidential debates. What is the worldview of these two people? What is their view of the government in our lives? This is so easy. She's for bigger government, more regulations, higher taxes. She didn't deny any of it. She's very proud of her position on trade. She doubled down on it. He's got this tremendous middle-class tax relief plan, create 25 million jobs, renegotiate trade deals, because he is a free trader, but he's also a fair trader, meaning let's make them work better for America, her allies, and her people. He also was able to talk about defeating radical Islam. She won't even call it that. He told her, you and President Obama left a vacuum when you came out of Iraq, and that allowed for the birth and growth of ISIS. There's no denying that. Yeah. And the only way she denied things tonight was to go, like, why am I on the stage with this man? But I thought he showed strength and leadership. And, of course, Lester Holt, all these debate moderators have a very tough job. You can only get so many issues covered in 90 minutes. But let's talk about all the things that were not covered. She totally flip-flopped on gay marriage between 2008, when she unsuccessfully ran for president, in 2016, when she is unsuccessfully running for president.
The money she took from the Saudis, Kuwait, Oman.
How about the emails? He had to raise the emails. He mentioned it as part of his answer to a question, and then it was just, Mrs. Clinton, would you like to mention your emails?
Well, he was also wrong on the issue of stop and frisk. Because the judge was removed from the case.
The judge, Shira Shinley, was removed from the case, and this current mayor, decided not to pursue that policy. But Terry versus Ohio is a United States Supreme Court decision that is still on the books. It means reasonable suspicion. Stop and frisk is allowed. What happened in New York is the way it was being used was being litigated before that particular judge. I think a lot of people in the media, I've heard them all week saying stop and frisk is unconstitutional. They need to read the Constitution.
You know, when you look at the issues, tax policy, immigration, vetting of refugees, saying radical Islam, Obamacare, energy policy, she wants to put coal miners and coal companies out of business. It's just so vast. I mean, for people, I think maybe that are coming in now to absorb it, maybe it will take 3 debates. What do you think?
It will take 3 debates, but I'll tell you, in between these 3 debates, it is everybody's responsibility to be forcing her, smoking her out on these issues. The idea that the voters only deserve to hear 270 minutes worth of these two people who would be President of the United States and leader of the free world is nonsense. So I hope, Sean, that the media and others hold her to account in between these debates, that she's just not, how did she perform in 90 minutes?
No, but here's the question. There was certainly a list of cheap shots she brought into the debate. How did you feel those went? Like, for example, she tried to play the race card like she has in some of her ads. Donald Trump, excuse me, you're the one that used the term super predator. And I asked him about that, and he said, well, she said it. And the issue of women, he could have gone there. He didn't. He could have mentioned the women in Saudi Arabia, that she's taking money from a country that treats women horribly. And on top of that, the Bill Clinton issue and her enabling aspect. But he didn't want to do it in front of the daughters. Is that going to become fair game if she keeps up that level of attack?
Possibly. It may be yes, possibly. Yeah. But you're absolutely right that she came with these pre-packaged, snarky zingers. Let me let everybody remember I said this, but if you're Hillary Clinton, they look like prepackaged practice zingers, and they kind of fall flat on their way down. They're kind of limp. Everybody knows she's a very rehearsed person, and she took a couple days off, several days off from the trail to prepare for this, and that's fine. But the question is, are you prepared to be president? You can prepare for a debate the way she did, but are you prepared to be president? I would argue she's unfit to be president. She's unqualified to be president. She put our national security at risk. She left those guys in Benghazi unprotected, even after Ambassador Chris Stevens and others begged for more security.
Requests.
Thank you. Even if you missed the first 500 because you deleted those emails, you must have the 100 in there somewhere. She has disrespected our veterans being part of this administration where veterans literally have been dying waiting for care at the VA in a place like Arizona. So there are many things about her record that people knew before tonight and will know long after tonight. I also think that Mr. Trump really connected tonight with the people who need to hear his message most. Those who do say, why did my job go to Mexico or China or to a robot somewhere else?
And he kept talking about Detroit and Ohio and Pennsylvania. Yes. They have been hurt the most.
They've been hurt the most, and that's exactly why we're either up or tied with her in these polls. In these 3 states that President Obama carried handily both times, beat both McCain and Romney in those states, shown why. His message is just so different, and the messenger is so different. He's basically doing very well in those blue-collar areas. This guy saying, you know what, maybe I don't need the 4-year college degree, but I'm a welder, I'm a carpenter, I'm a plumber, I'm a factory line. I just want to work and support my family.
That's my old career, Kellyanne.
That's right.
I appreciate
know. God bless you.
Yeah.
That's everyone I grew up with, and I hope they're watching us both tonight. Yes.
Kellyanne, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Goodbye.
And welcome back, Hour 2 of Hannity. That was my interview with Trump campaign manager Kellyanne Conway earlier tonight, right after she walked into the spin room. Now, we've had to move inside because there's, well, you might say some rain outside. Geraldo melts in the rain. He's the Fox News senior correspondent, Geraldo Rivera, and Washington Examiner. I'm sorry. We're two good friends. I can say anything. Lisa Booth is with us.
Brown puddle.
And the host of Justice, Judge Jeanine Pirro. All right, so a friend of mine just sent me this. Time Magazine, nearly 1 million votes, 59% Trump. CNBC, nearly 400,000 votes, 60% Trump. The Hill had it 55-39 Trump. My friend Joe Concha sent that to me. Drudge was exploding, like 90% Trump. The only people saying no are these idiots over here at CNN.
CNN, right.
No,
but, think about it.
Van Jones, Dave Axelrod, and Paul Begala. The biggest 3 liberal hacks in America, for crying out loud.
Sure.
They make Geraldo look like me, a right-winger.
I'm the man in the middle.
Think about, look, what did she have to prove? She had to prove she was likable. And he had to prove that he wasn't a lunatic. And in the end, he proved that he was pretty solid. He knew what that he could get through an argument with her. And she was scripted. She wasn't any more likable. And she was arrogant at the end.
It's funny because I was watching her. She's so robotic. She's so plastic. She came in with her prepared little words and lines. Even at the end, I was surprised. Because I know Donald Trump pretty well.
Then he didn't go after her at the end?
He could have hit her so hard that everybody in that audience would have gone, ooh.
Coulda, woulda, shoulda.
And he didn't.
He did not.
Was that right or wrong?
That's not for me to judge whether or not he should have. I know that he did not.
That's why you're here.
Let's backtrack this a little bit to where Hillary Clinton was going to go out there and vomit and pee in her pants and faint, and her legs were so wobbly she couldn't possibly endure 90 minutes.
Who said she was going to vomit and pee in her pants?
The stories that I saw leading up to this made Hillary Clinton seem like she was physically a basket case. The fact is, she stood toe-to-toe with the person I think is the most charismatic movie star debater in this country. And she matched him at least evenly. I hear these unscientific surveys. I'll tell you what I saw. I saw it right down the middle. He could have knocked her out. He
left some stuff on the table. I'll agree with you.
Where was Benghazi? Where was the wall? Where was the Clinton Foundation? Where was
Saudi Arabia treatment of women?
All of the arrows in his quiver remained in his quiver, it seemed to me, and he was on the defensive more than he was on the offense.
But those questions weren't asked. She wasn't asked about her email. She wasn't asked about Benghazi. She wasn't asked about the Clinton Foundation. But Donald Trump should have directed those those questions at her.
But by the way, Lester Holt was doing a pretty good job as her, flanker debater in this thing, getting everything wrong that he talked about.
But Sean, I think where we're seeing some of those polls reflect a win for Donald Trump, it's the same thing we saw during the Republican primary debates as well as in the commander-in-chief forum. And I think it's because the chattering class are all the political consultants, and the people that are viewing the race don't operate in that world. And Donald Trump speaks in a plain spoken language, and Hillary Clinton speaks like a politician.
She came in, she memorized her lines with perfection. That's what I mean by robotic. I feel she's scripted, robotic. Even the lines, I memorized everything you said. And I'm sitting there saying, it didn't impress me. What impressed me is when he talked about Michigan and Ohio and Pennsylvania and jobs going overseas and a record debt and deficit and her being wrong on Iran and NAFTA and everything else. I thought that was more powerful.
But he spoke in a language that Americans understood. And he said, you know what? You do have the experience. I concede you have the experience, but it's bad experience.
30 years. What did you do?
America gets it. And, when she starts with, you know what? I have been working on criminal justice reform since the first day of this campaign. Well, what were you doing as Secretary of State, as United States Senator?
She was
what about the super
Did you notice that she didn't seem moved at all when Trump was going 3,000 people shot in Chicago. 3,000.
I think that law and order was one of his strong suits. I really do. But you say that he speaks in language that America understands. America understands. Why don't you release your income tax return?
America doesn't care.
America
doesn't care.
Maybe America doesn't care. But the point that he is not releasing his taxes, the whole birther
the fact that she wrote 33,000 deleted emails.
Classified. How many were
I think that if you spin this into a Trump victory as the Drudge
but Sean,
is,
what's important?
The Hills, Time Magazine, CBS, and CNBC. This is an enthusiasm.
But the enthusiasm is for change in the country. You look at the CBS battleground polling. 55% of Americans want big changes to the economy, to politics. You look at Quinnipiac polls that have asked the question of, do you want radical change? 70% of voters in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Florida want radical change. This is a change election, and Hillary Clinton absolutely represents the status quo.
72% of Americans think that the country is going in the wrong direction, and she is the wrong direction.
I think what happened tonight was the Democrats now see their candidate as an appropriate candidate, and the Republicans see their candidate as an appropriate candidate, and the race comes down to the 3 or 4% in the middle.
You have been riding this razor's edge this
and I'm still there. And I'm still there.
Crying out loud.
I'm still there. And I hated that he brought you into it. I really do.
Why?
Because I love you, and I don't want you to be fodder for the people who are going to chop you up.
Listen, you know what I do for a living? I dish it out 4 hours a day, Geraldo. I'll take any shot anybody wants to take. But here's the thing.
He's using you as his alibi? Come on.
Well, but I will tell you that. Well, it's not an alibi. He would call me. We used to have knockdown, drag-out, friendly battles over Iraq. He thinking I was wrong.
And Sean, speaking of, I think the problem with Hillary Clinton, and we saw that we saw this even at the Democratic National Convention in her speech, and just when she gives her town hall speeches as well, is the fact that Hillary Clinton, she's so wired as a politician, she doesn't stand for anything. She didn't stand for anything tonight because she was so methodical about answering questions.
You've been here 30 years.
Yes.
What have you done?
Yep.
What have you done? Why are you talking about this now? You haven't fixed a thing.
Exactly. Right. Well, and that's the problem. That goes back to the changes that Americans want, whether you look at the CBS poll or the Quinnipiac poll.
He was on defensive. You're a fighter. You do the mixed martial arts. Right. You know the difference between a guy who's coming and a guy who's doing this. He was way too much. He's a great counterpuncher. He was on the defensive 3/4 of the time.
No. Mitt Romney won the first debate, and then he fizzled the next two.
Well, you're making my case. He lost round 1. Maybe he wins round 2 and 3.
You just got done saying it's even.
Well, he lost because he didn't win.
You sound like Hillary.
He's flip-flopping more than Hillary.
He had the chance for a real knockout.
Oh, so you think
and then everyone would have said if he had that knockout, they would have said he was mean to a woman.
Yeah, he's not going to win in the
eyes
eyes of the media.
All right, I got a question. You have to vote right now. You're in the booth. Who are you going to vote?
I tell you, I am not going to do what you did. I am in the middle. I'm senior correspondent. I'm staying.
Are you going to tell us?
I'll tell you the day before the election.
On this show?
On this show. I will break the news on my brother's.
You have to hold him to it.
Oh, I'm holding him to it.
Yeah.
If I have to drag him out of his office.
Drag him to the voting
He's
booth.
got a full bar in his office.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, coming up, Eric Trump, Reince Priebus, Larry Elder, Sheriff David Clark is here. They all have reaction to tonight's big debate as Hannity continues live from Hofstra University. We're in Long Island, Hempstead, New York, and we'll continue.
You look at the Middle East, it's a total mess. Under your direction to a large extent. But you look at the Middle East, you started the Iran deal. That's another beauty where you have a country that was ready to fall. I mean, they were doing so badly. They were choking on the sanctions, and now they're going to be actually probably a major power at some point pretty soon, the way they're going. When ISIS formed, in this vacuum created by Barack Obama and Secretary Clinton, and believe me, you were the ones that took out the troops. Not only that, you named the day. They couldn't believe it. They sat back probably and said, I can't believe it. They said, no, wait a minute.
We've covered
when they formed, this is something that never should have happened. It should have never happened. Now, you're talking about taking out ISIS, but you were there and you were Secretary of State when it was a little infant. Now it's in over 30 countries. And you're going to stop them? I don't think so.
That was just one of the many big moments for Donald Trump at tonight's first presidential debate. Earlier tonight, after the candidate stepped off the stage, I spoke with his son, Eric Trump. Let's take a look. Who's more nervous, you, Don, or your dad?
Oh, definitely me. Honestly, I was a wreck. I think sometimes the family's actually more nervous than the candidate. Yeah. My father was totally cool. He was great all day. We were laughing today. Yeah. And honestly, for me, sitting in the front row, knowing that's out of your control, like you want to just protect, and it's because you love your family and you love your father. And I was proud of him. Honestly, see him up on that stage. He's accomplished so much in the last 14 months. I was so proud of him tonight.
He didn't take anything. One of the things I think people were thinking coming into the debate, what's his temperament going to be like? Kept his cool, was still Donald Trump.
It's so respectful. Honestly, that's what I was most proud of. You saw the last question.
Last part of the debate.
He's talking about, him calling women names, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And he was so respectful. And I think everybody knows what he could have done, and everybody knows the direction he could have gone in. I was really proud of him. I think he took the high road.
Did you think he was going to do it? Did you know what he was going to do?
No, I didn't know what he was going to do. But I was really proud that he really took the high road. And I think that was a beautiful moment, and actually one that I'll always remember.
One of the things that I think is really becoming clear in this debate is what a choice election this is, Eric. Yeah. She wants to raise taxes. He's going to cut taxes, repatriate money, energy, Obamacare, foreign policy, labeling radical Islam, building a wall, not building a wall, vetting refugees, not vetting refugees. This is the single biggest choice election that I can think of since Reagan Carter.
Yeah. It's interesting when she talks about taxes. My father wants to drop taxes for every single American. We are losing our jobs like you wouldn't believe. We have 100 million Americans out of the workforce. Median income hasn't increased in 15 years. It's been stagnant, yet everybody's expenses have gone up. People haven't gotten a raise in this country in 15 years.
That's the thing.
We've lost 1/3 of every manufacturing job, Sean. You know these statistics better than I do. We don't make anything
all the time
in this country anymore. My father wants to reduce taxes for every single American. He wants to bring industry back to the United States. He wants to get people back in
that money.
Of course, he wants to get people back in the workforce. He wants the American dream to be alive and well. The Democrats are absolutely killing that. They're choking America. They're choking the workforce of this country that's made America great, and it's got to stop.
All right, Eric, good to see you. Appreciate it. Thanks. Thanks so much. All right, here now with more reaction to tonight's big debate are Salem nationally radio talk show host, syndicated host Larry Elder, and Milwaukee County Sheriff David Clark. All right, when the law and order portion of this debate came up tonight, Donald Trump kept saying, this year alone, 3,000 people shot in Chicago. Since Obama's been president, almost 4,000 dead. It's like it just went right over her head. She didn't seem to understand the magnitude of that.
She doesn't, because she's so far detached from life in the American ghetto that she doesn't get it. This year alone, over 500 people murdered in the city of Chicago. A comparative statistic.
This year alone?
This year alone. Yeah. First 8 months
Since Obama's been president, almost 4,000.
Since 2013, the start of his second term, 275 coalition forces killed in Afghanistan. So 500 people murdered in Chicago.
Almost twice as many.
Fewer people on the battlefield. The other thing that struck me was when Lester Holt asked her about are cops inherently racist, and she jumps to this implicit bias test. That is faulty science. Within the field of social sciences and psychology, people are questioning the validity, the reliability, of that test that everybody's racist. So, you know, she just throws this stuff out there, to knowing that most of the people who are watching tonight don't know that this implicit bias test is faulty. So I look at that, and then I look at this thing with, you know, law and order, and you know, right away she jumps to the criminals, and there's a racist criminal justice system. Never says anything about victims of crime. Never. And that bothers the heck out of me.
Yeah, what was your reaction to that, Larry?
Well, I felt the same way. I thought the victims of crime certainly should have come up. In the 100 largest cities, 25 of them have seen an increase in murder, including Baltimore, including St. Louis, including Chicago. And as far as I'm concerned, Donald Trump should have talked about the fact that this demonization of police officers is getting cops to pull back, and the victims of that are the same black people that she claims she cares about. But I want to make a quick broader point, Sean. I saw a whole lot of unused ammo at the end of this debate. Illegal immigration doesn't come up. Obamacare doesn't come up. And the birther thing, he didn't make it clear that it was Sidney Blumenthal who went to the reporter and said, Obama is from Kenya, check it out. I don't think people understood what he was saying.
Or the Mark Penn memo. I mean, Mark Penn was very clear. Oh, we're going to be the American campaign.
But Sean, he said, Trump did, that I'm the one who got Obama to turn over the birth certificate, and Sidney Blumenthal couldn't do that. That's not what Blumenthal was doing. Blumenthal was pushing the rumor that Obama was from Kenya, and I don't think most Americans who are watching the debate, who aren't on top of this the way you are and the way the sheriff is, didn't get that. She started it. Her water boy, Sidney Blumenthal,
you're right about this, too. They didn't bring up the emails. They didn't bring up Benghazi. They didn't bring up the Clinton Foundation or Saudi Arabia or immigration or vetting of refugees and really dig Obamacare or dig deep into those things. So I think there's a lot of ground yet to cover. But with that said, I mean, I'll give you the list of polls now. You've got, let's see if I can pull it up here. I have it in front of me. You know, Time Magazine, Drudge Report, CNBC, The Hill, CBS. The only one that has Hillary winning is CNN, and they're the Clinton News Network anyway. I mean, and they only had like 500 people they surveyed. These other ones have hundreds of thousands, if not millions.
I have never seen an opponent more target-rich than Hillary. That's all I'm saying. My goodness, he could have nailed her on so many things, and getting her, and she gets away with this nonsense that the reason Obama bugged out of Iraq is because George W. Bush had a timetable that he had to adhere to. Are you kidding me? She went in with a ski mask and she went into the bank and robbed it.
Well, she's not exactly honest and truthful, you know, but she can't run. It's interesting. She wants to double down on Obama's economy. She kind of justifies Iran and Iraq and this vote. She sent these guys to war. We lost 5,000 people, blood, treasure, sweat, tears. These guys lost their limbs. They come back disfigured. And then she says, oops, sorry, mistake. You know, and then she's saying, well, you said on Howard Stern, I guess so. I mean, that's their best argument?
Well, I'll tell you what I think about Donald Trump's appearance tonight in the debate. He shows that he's a fighter, that he's going to fight for the American people. But I'm going to touch quickly on the stop, question, and frisk that she lied about, said it was ineffective. Look, Heather McDonald, criminologist, Manhattan Institute, estimates that over 10,000 black males are alive today in New York City alone because of stop, question, and frisk. So she just throws out there that it was ineffective. You know, all she does is just make stuff up as she goes along, knowing nobody's going to call her on it.
Well, Rudy Giuliani was extraordinarily animated when I got a chance to interview him right after the debate, because I lived in the city at that time. I saw the shift. And if you look at the lives that were saved, probably a large majority were black Americans. Just like in Chicago, of the nearly 4,000 that have been killed since Obama's president, over 75% black Americans. And to bring stop and frisk to Chicago, how many lives can we save?
A lot.
Precious lives.
A lot. Look at this, 80%, murders dropped 80% during stop, question, and frisk under Giuliani and Bill Bratton. And all classes of felonies decreased 75%. Nobody else across the country experienced that because they weren't doing it like New York was. So it was very effective.
You doing that in Milwaukee?
People alive. Yes.
Okay.
We need to do more of it, though. We don't have the officers to do it effectively, but
you're trying.
Yes.
All right. Good to see you both. Sheriff, thank you. Larry, good to see you. Coming up, RNC Chairman Reince Priebus. He's here with reaction to tonight's debate. Plus, we'll get analysis from Dinesh D'Souza, Charles Hurt, Pat Caddell, that and more as we continue live from Hofstra University. It's Hannity. We're on the road. Straight ahead.
feeling that by the end of this evening, I'm going to be blamed for everything that's ever happened.
Why not?
Why not? Yeah, why not?
And welcome back to Hannity. We're in the spin room. We're at Hofstra University, and earlier, RNC Chairman Reince Priebus joined me with reaction to tonight's big debate. Let's take a look. All right, joining us now is Reince Priebus in the spin room and chairman of the RNC. Overall picture, who won the debate?
I thought it was a great night for Donald Trump. And, he did exactly what he needed to do. Presidential, measured, even restrained. And I thought that was a good thing. I think it's
like that, especially at the end of the debate. He was very clear. I can go there.
Right, but I think what he's saying, too, is I'm not putting these kinds of things in my advertisement.
There's your guy right there. He's saying how great you did.
Thank you.
By the way, you got 92% on Drudge.
92%. How did you do tonight?
Not bad.
How's he doing? Good?
He's doing really well. He's a good advocate for you.
We're going to make him a superstar if we win.
I think you're right.
Thank you. Thank you. All right.
There you go. You never know what's going to... No, we're not. No, that's all staying. But so, one of the things that really stood out to me, all right, she's going to raise taxes. She wants more regulation, tax the rich. It's just that old liberal cliche on everything. And I'm thinking, okay, we just did this for 8 years. Here are the numbers. I talk about them every day. Worst recovery since the 40s, lowest labor participation since the 70s. We doubled our national debt. We've got African Americans disproportionately impacted. You got 12 million more Americans on food stamps and 8 million more in poverty. Well, those are not good numbers.
But here's what he did very well tonight. Essentially what you're saying, but he did it a little different way. He said, wait a second. You're slinging all these details at me about all the things you're going to do about ISIS, all the things you're going to do with our foreign allies. And you were uniquely situated, like no one else on the face of the earth to actually do it, even as Secretary of State, and you didn't do it. So what makes us think that now that you're trying to dazzle us with these plans, that they're actually going to make a difference? The other thing I thought was interesting, with all the memories that Hillary has about every word and every sentence that came out of Donald Trump's mouth, she remembered them all. But she couldn't remember 39 times when the FBI interviewed her about what she did with her emails, whether she went through training, whether she signed certain forms. Couldn't remember anything.
She couldn't remember even being briefed.
Right.
That's pretty amazing.
Yet she can remember every little snippet interview that Donald Trump ever gave, whether it was to Howard Stern or someone else, remembers it all.
Yeah.
But can't remember a darn thing about when she was Secretary of State, and all of her employers are now pleading the Fifth Amendment.
Yeah.
Pretty remarkable.
It was interesting for my name to come out. It's a funny story, and I was telling it earlier that I was surprised I actually remembered it. He had brought it up in another interview not that long ago, but we had friendly knockdown, drag-out telephone conversations over Iraq, and he kept telling me how wrong I was. To this day, I think it was the right thing. The only thing I think we made a mistake on is we pulled out. And we won Mosul, Ramadi, Tikrit, Fallujah, Baghdad, and then we pull out. And we have to ask, why are we sending kids to war if we're going to allow people like her to politicize?
And the other big point that's missed in all of this is that she was regardless of where you're at on this issue, she was the senator that took the vote.
Exactly.
Her finger pressed the green button on the floor of the Senate. And he was a private citizen just talking about issues. Now, I'm not saying that you don't get held accountable.
He said to Howard Stern this, I guess so. I guess so is not a vote for the Iraq war.
I understand. Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah. And so she portrays herself to the American people as an expert in foreign policy. But on this issue that she thinks is a big mistake, she made
I remember the first call wasn't even necessarily about the wall. I remember the first thing he said, if you got to fight, take the oil. First thing he said, so he's been consistent on that over the years. Here's the big picture, though. On the Supreme Court, on vetting refugees, on building a wall, on tax policy, she wants higher taxes, he wants lower taxes, he wants to repatriate, on energy, on Obamacare, on saying radical Islam. There's such a distinct difference. This is the biggest choice election, from my perspective, in our lifetime.
Well, and anytime you have a choice election, it's the electorate that measures the risk, how much risk to get the change.
Right.
And it's the same thing that happened to Ronald Reagan. How much risk to get the change. And so as people see Donald Trump, like tonight, he pulled back. It's true. He pulled back a few punches. He definitely did. But I think he's also showing the restraint to the American people that he's prepared to be president. I don't need to take every shot there is. I don't need to go, 10 miles deep on this email story. We all know he took a shot on the emails, but he wasn't obsessed with it. And I think that showed the restraint that he needed to tonight.
Reince Priebus, thank you so much.
Thank
Good
you.
to see you.
You bet.
Appreciate it. Thanks. And coming up, Dinesh D'Souza, Charlie Hurt, and Pat Caddell. They'll join us with reaction to tonight's big presidential debate. That and more as we continue live from Hofstra University in West Hempstead, Long Island.
I then spoke to Sean Hannity, which everybody refuses to call Sean Hannity. I had numerous conversations with Sean Hannity at Fox, and Sean Hannity said, and he called me the other day, and I spoke to him about it. He said you were totally against the war because he was for the war.
Why is your judgment better than...
And that was before the war started. Sean Hannity said very strongly to me and other people, he's willing to say, but nobody wants to call him, I was against the war. He said, you used to have fights with me because Sean was in favor of the war. And I understand that side also, not very much because we should have never been there. But nobody calls Sean Hannity. If somebody would call up Sean Hannity, this was before the war started, he and I used to have arguments about the war. I said it's a terrible and a stupid thing.
All right, joining us now, the creator and best-selling author of Hillary's America, Dinesh D'Souza, from the Washington Times, Charlie Hurt, and Fox News contributor Pat Caddell. You know, it was a little strange having my name come up, but this is really a true story, is that we argued about this because he watched the show, why are you supporting this? This isn't going to turn out well, etc. And from day one, he would say, take the oil, but he was passionate about, I was wrong. Now, I still believe I was right at the end of the day. Well, the mistake was after you win Mosul and Ramadi and Fallujah and Tikrit and Baghdad, you don't pull out because, quote, as Hillary says, we made a mistake after 5,000 Americans died, fought, bled, died, lose their limbs, come back disfigured and say, oops, sorry, mistake, I shouldn't have sent you.
Yeah, and the idea that they put what Donald Trump told a shock jock offhandedly, I guess.
I guess so. Yeah. That's what they're quoting, and they're saying that is like it's gospel truth.
And that the media allows her to do this, to put that on par with the fact that she voted to send all those boys to get their legs blown off in Iraq.
And then politicized it.
And then politicized it.
And then said, oops, I made a mistake.
And then when she later says, oops, I made a mistake, she doubles down on the fact that, oh, but I did all my homework. Well, you did all your homework and you got the wrong answer, according to you, or you didn't do your homework.
But he also said it to Neil Cavuto in an interview.
He said it to me.
He said it to you too. You argue with him too.
No, I agree with him. Right. No, but he was saying that when he was arguing with you. And I kept arguing with him about the oil. He kept wanting to take the oil. Right?
I agreed, but that's actually something we agreed on.
Well, there you go.
The first time we talked about it, I'll never forget, he said, take the oil, and I said, good idea.
But I know that it was true because he was against it.
Passionate.
And I thought it was a mistake.
Yeah.
But you didn't. But I mean.
Listen, I stand by my position today. It was the right thing to do. But here's the problem, Pat. We can't have 58,000 kids die in Vietnam. We can't have 5,000 kids die in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then Hillary say, as she did, a couple of weeks ago, oops, we got to learn the lesson. If that's my son or daughter, I don't want to learn a lesson from your stupid mistake.
Right. Well,
because you don't have the commitment to follow through on what you voted on. Let's bring Dinesh in. Dinesh.
Well, Sean, I think on the issue of Iraq and you and Trump, the truth of it is that you're both right. And what I mean by that is that there are decisions that with the benefit of hindsight, we might make differently. But of course, we don't have that benefit at the time. You're operating with limited information, and you have to go with the information you have. So you were right, Sean, at the time. Obviously, looking at it now, we might have made a different kind of call. I thought that Trump won the debate, but he won it on points. He didn't have the knockout I was hoping for. He scored points. He came across as authentic. He dispelled this idea that the left has created about him, that he's some kind of a crazy man who is sort of out of bounds and even being qualified for the presidency. I think he diffused that quite a bit.
What? That might be a bigger win. Yeah, that might be a bigger point than I think you're giving credence to. And this was Newt Gingrich's point earlier tonight, is that there was a false caricature coming into this debate, and that myth was pushed aside, especially at the end of the debate. He could have taken the shot. He didn't do it.
Well, I think what he didn't do is he didn't expose crooked Hillary. He showed incompetent Hillary, but really it's the crookedness that defines the Clintons, and he didn't really go there.
What do you think, Charles?
I would argue that tonight the onus was on Hillary Clinton. She's the one who's tanking in the polls. She's the one that has to change the trajectory of the campaign right now. She failed to do that.
Did you think she was robotic? I memorize my lines. That's
well, not
what
only
I got.
that, but she also memorizes her facial expressions.
Yeah.
There was that one moment where she jiggled her shoulders.
It was weird.
It was very strange.
But by the way, from the beginning, the blinking was so distracting. Yeah. Did you see
But it was all very
I did.
practical.
But can I go to the real point? Because I just finished helping with Breitbart, the 900 interviews, just shy of 900 interviews, and it was people who would agreed to be interviewed. It's a real sample. It's not one of these, we have a 15
like CNN, 500 people poll?
500 people with 15-point Democratic margins, 900, and we actually asked some real questions, and here's the point. She won by about 5 points on the debate. People thought she did better than they expected. They thought Trump did about what he was expected, but here's the important point. On the question who would be plausible as president, Trump beat her. By 7 points. By 5 points, 49-44. But he won the thing he needed. And let me just finish just quickly. And he won, cares about people, strong leader. She won on was best on the issues. And guess what? 95% of the people did not change their mind, just like they don't in debates.
And
the people who did, a couple of percent went to
CNBC, when
Trump.
Slate, when CBS and Drudge and all these other polls say he won, did he win?
No, I think the poll says that he did not beat.
I got a break. All right, we got to take a break.
He won where he needed to win.
Coming up, more Hannity right after this. And welcome back to Hannity as we continue live at Hofstra University here with Reaction, Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall, American Conservative Union Chair Matt Schlapp, and Fox News contributor Mercedes. Obviously, Matt married way out of his pay grade.
I just really wanted to be married to a Fox News contributor.
Oh, well, I wasn't available. Leslie's not available, so I guess.
Hey, it's legal.
Yeah. All right, take on the debate.
Well, I thought Donald Trump had a very strong first 30 minutes. And then when Lester Holt started talking about tax returns further, nothing that has to do with America's prosperity or the new direction in America, I think Donald Trump was just trying to answer too many of those questions directly instead of hitting hard on the emails, hitting hard on the Clinton Foundation. I think there were several missed opportunities for Trump on that.
I think he'll come back on that. I also wanted to hear Saudi Arabia brought up, and her taking money from countries that treat women, abuse gays and lesbians, and abuse Christians and Jews.
What was the tough question she got tonight? Think of it.
I was just reading the Washington Examiner. I think there was 6 follow-up questions for Trump, 0 for her.
That's right. And what was the tough first question she got? 0. So, look, I think if you look at all that, what people like about Donald Trump, and I think people will say tactically, why did he go down, I'll answer everything. But it's one of the things they like about him. You bring something up, he gives you an answer.
Yeah, he does.
And he's proud of his life and his record, and he defends it.
Listen, if Hillary, I don't know what that, they must be breaking down and throwing us out of here. If Hillary wants to, hello, we're here. If Hillary wants to bring up his tax returns, okay, well, release your speeches.
Right.
I want to hear what you said to Wall Street companies that paid you $250,000. Why would you, for an hour's work?
Look.
How much do you get paid
we
for a speech?
We were all watching a very different debate. Because let me tell you something. I didn't think, we were talking about this off air, I thought she did better than I expected her to do, to be honest. Wow. I thought Donald was going to be better. This is what I saw. If I was a teacher and there were 2 kids giving the book report, one did their homework and one was prepared, and one wasn't. He was too off the cuff, and you can't do that at a debate.
But that's interesting.
It's not a campaign stuff.
When Slate, CBS, CNBC, Time and Drudge all say he won by
excuse me. Where? I can show you. 62% CNN's poll.
All right, CNN's poll had 500 respondents, by the way. These had hundreds of thousands of respondents, and CNN is the Clinton News Network, okay?
Oh, I see.
So the one poll you can cite, that's fair. But he won all the other ones. And those are real people needing real jobs that don't want the robotic, memorize my answer.
I want to look at all the polls tomorrow, because the online polls, I don't trust them.
Leslie, you know what worked? Look, she's been a politician for 30 years, and what solutions has she brought? And the fact that
that was powerful.
That was so powerful, and that is that change agent of change.
Mercedes,
really works for Donald Trump.
When President
Obama
Obama
about the economy and trade, Hillary Clinton could not defend herself.
When President Obama debated Mitt Romney, I'm a Democrat who supported President Obama. However, I was okay to say the first time he didn't win. Mitt Romney kicked his butt.
But there's something you're not understanding here, because people said the same thing in the debates with the Republicans.
That's exactly right.
And Donald Trump won every online poll, and they missed it.
Why is it? Because what he did, certainly in the first 30 minutes for sure, and throughout it, is he said, it's all talk, it's all talk, it's all spin, nothing ever happens. They tell you they're going to fix it.
Action.
And what's the number one issue in every single poll? Jobs and the economy. And he answered that question over and over and over.
She
said she's going to raise taxes. Great. But raise taxes.
This is my problem as a voter, okay? I put on Twitter, and a lot of people responded, I want $1 for every time he said I. And that's what he said was I. And as a president, we want to hear about us.
Okay, he's talking about we are going to lower taxes. We are going to bring jobs back. We're going to bring. We're going to
make America great again.
We're going to make America great again.
That's right.
You missed it. You don't understand Trump. You don't get him.
In the bubble,
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
In the bubble.
You like the robot. All right, I'll exit as Hillary. I studied my lines. More Hannity after the break. I have one more. And Donald Trump is sexist.
Do the smile.
And blink a lot. You got to blink a lot. She blinked a lot.
He sniffed a lot. That means he's dying.
We'll continue straight ahead. All right, welcome back to Hannity. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us. We're live in Hofstra in Hempstead, New York. The first presidential debate is now in the books. We'll have more analysis tomorrow night, back at our normal time, 10 Eastern. Thanks for being with us. Hope you have a great night. Herman Cain, Laura Ingraham tomorrow night, Newt Gingrich, and more. Thanks for being with us.